With more than 8 million pet cats in the UK, what is it that we love so much about them? Well, here to offer some interesting insights into the mysterious habits and rituals of our furry little friends is the presenter of Big Cat Diary, Simon King, OBE, and cat expert Dr. Sandra McCoon. Welcome, guys. Now, there's been this big report by Whiskers looking at big cats in the wild and little cats that we have at home, and it's quite an interesting report, isn't it? Tell me a little bit about the actual report itself and what were the key things that were shown in it.
Essentially, Whiskers approached over 1,000 cat owners and asked them to reflect on what similarities they might have seen between the behaviour of their cat and how it might, and Whiskers have interpreted that with the help of experts to try and see how that relates to their ancestral environment, their wild heritage, if you like. And in addition, a great deal of information has been gleaned about the relationship cat owners have with their pets and how important it is, indeed, how important the cat is to the lives of so many people. For example, over 95% of cat owners regard the cat as very much a part of the family, and almost 90% of cat owners consider the cat a wonderful way of reducing stress. Well, that's certainly been empirically proven to be true. If you stroke a cat, then your blood pressure goes down, you feel better. So there's all sorts of advantages.
A good thing.
Absolutely.
So cats are definitely good for us, and there's obviously a very strong bonds between a lot of cat owners and the cats themselves. What can we do to enhance this bond? Because I know there was also quite a few insights about the play rituals of cats.
There was, because play is just so important to cats. They're incredibly playful animals. And the thing that's unusual about cats, I suppose, is that they're really playful as kittens, but that persists right through, often until they're really quite old. And so one of the things we can do as owners to really, develop stimulating our cats is to get toys or make toys. It can be as simple as a rod with some cord on the end of it, or scrunch up paper, or buy a ball or whatever, and throw it, move it around. Cats love anything that moves, and they will go after that. But one of the best things you can do that's a really simple idea is just get a cardboard box, punch some holes in it, let the cat get inside it, and then be able to, poke little feathers or twigs through. I
know in my house, as soon as there's an empty box, it's either the cat or the kids in there. Yeah, what is it about an empty box? It's amazing. And what about the feeding rituals? Because I know they do like a sort of ritual, and they do like sort of things happening at the same time every day. What about, how do you relate to that with their lives in the wild?
Well, of course, Whiskers have been studying cat nutrition and are experts in that field for many decades, and as a consequence have a huge amount of font of information available, and have developed wonderful products as a consequence to make sure that the health of your cat, which is, it's a carnivore through and through, it needs meat to survive, and so you need to ensure that that's reflected in the diet that you bring to the domestic cat. That's true, of course, of wild cats too. They're carnivores. And one can see the way in which a cat deals with its food, echoed by the way a wild cat might. For example, domestic cats, their ancestral relative is a wild cat of North Africa. It looks very similar to a sort of a skinny tabby. They historically will, and to this day, need to ensure that their food is protected from other predators, and as a consequence they may take it into a high point, perhaps into some rocks or even a tree, in order to feed. And indeed they may also rest, those cats may rest in that environment to avoid being attacked. That's why your cat at home very often will feel comfortable, perhaps on a shelf or indeed sitting on top of a wardrobe.
Eating their food.
And eating the food just off the ground, and they feel that little bit more secure. Although it's very, very, this sort of behaviour is down to the individual, and that's the key, is to notice the signals and the cues your cat is giving out and to respond to them accordingly.
And have you got any other top tips for feeding? Because I know they don't like really cold food.
Make sure that the food that you do proffer is at room temperature. It's not going to hurt your cat to eat cold food, but I know when I was a kid and feeding my pet cat, I used to get the tin of Whiskers out of the fridge and put it into the bowl, and that's really not very fair, because there's nothing natural about freezing cold meat to a cat. It just doesn't happen, with the exception perhaps of a bobcat in the snow, where it might come across something and scavenge it. That's pretty niche, whereas compared to almost all of the meals these animals get, and 90% if not more for most cats, the meals are fresh. They're not scavenging, and so they do have warm food.
So that might explain why my Bengal snow leopard was eating my frozen prawns this morning. And on a final note then, Sandra, The bond, if you are struggling to build a bond with a cat, if it's a new addition to the house, you've got kids or things have changed, what can you do to help the cat along a little bit?
So really it's about focusing on the things that really motivate cats, and those are food, as we've talked about, and play. So both of those are very important. In terms of the food, it is about just extending the time you take to feed the cat. You know, just give it the opportunity to come alongside you, to rub around, to purr, to talk a bit to you, talk back to it and so on. And just that's a really special time when you come together and it's really positively rewarded for the cat. So that's a great opportunity. And then playing, just taking time to play with your cat. Cats just love to play, so it's a positive experience for them. And again, that will deepen the bond. You don't have to do it for very long because cats naturally sleep so much of the day. But just take some minutes out, you know, maybe a couple of times a day, and just have a little play session.
Some really top tips there, guys. When I go home to my little neglected Morgie, I will be showing him far more attention, because ultimately that's what we all want. But thank you very much. Thank you so much, Simon King, OBE, and Dr. Sandra McCune for joining us today. It's been really interesting, and I've learned so much. And if you want to find out more about how to give your cat the healthiest life possible, then all you need to do is simply visit the website, which is whiskers.co.uk/ycats. That's whiskers.co.uk/ycats. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.